Hey, what's going on, everyone? We have Kadcars here, and we are doing an interview with the team, and it's really exciting to be here with all of you. Kadcars is a really exciting Web3 racing game that is going to be coming up on the Kadena blockchain, and yeah, we're super excited to have you guys. Welcome.
Appreciate
for
it.
having
Appreciate it.
us.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, Web3 gaming is really exciting now. As a lifelong gamer, just seeing like the portability of Web3 gaming and seeing how you could actually own the in-game assets is something that's been really exciting to me as someone that's just interested in video games and has been playing video games for a long time. So yeah, would love to chop it up with you guys and learn a little bit more about what you're up to.
Lovely.
Awesome.
Great. So yeah, would you mind just telling me about yourself and your background a little bit?
Okay, so I'm just gonna try to introduce myself and the rest of the team. So let's start with Mohammed Khalaf. We call him MK. So he's actually by nature, not nature, by specific specialization, mechanical engineer. So he's actually the game lead and the one responsible for our 3D models. A fact that I like to brag about, which is not mine, which is his. He doesn't usually say this, but I like to say that he actually got a funding from the MW to build an actual car with his team, and he has done that from scratch. And that's like, and then you can really see that mechanical engineer point of view in our cars as well. Like he designed, suspension, brakes, how the car looks, even like a bit of aerodynamics and such. So yeah, we have a real mechanical engineer working on game models. Then
That's
we also
incredible.
have Mohanad Ahmad. We call him Mo. He is our software engineer and CTO. He's currently working in government software engineer. I'm not gonna go any deeper into that, but yeah, like that's about it from their side. Myself, I'm Robert. I'm the team lead. My background stems pretty extensively in Web3. Initially, I started with e-commerce. However, in 2019, I started getting more into crypto. Initially as an investor, then became more of an obsession throughout the bull cycle. Launched a NFT project myself on another chain. Then afterwards worked in a couple other projects of gaming as well. One of them being dog race gaming. The other one would be like a metaverse type of game. And then since around 2021, 2022, I've been focusing solely on Kadcars and getting to the point where we are right now.
Yeah, super cool. That's amazing that MK has the experience from BMW to build a car from the ground up and how that translates into the actual design of the game itself. That's you can't really get that kind of experience, and I can't imagine that other games that are in the Web3 space have that type of experience with the hands-on sort of experience that MK brings to the table. So it's really
Yeah,
cool.
he is obsessed with physics. Like when he's like trying to play the game, he's like, nah, that this angle, this turn shouldn't be like that. Like we have to improve our physics. And he like his eyes are most of the time red because like spending so much time throughout the nights working on physics stuff on the software and everything.
Yeah, always have to have someone like that around. That's good stuff. Yeah, so let's look at Web3 gaming and specifically CAD cars from like a 10,000-foot view. Like why should someone play CAD cars over a game like Mario Kart, which we all know and love? What's the shift here going into Web3 gaming from some of the racing games that some of us grew up with?
So Web3 gaming is all about ownership. Once you have ownership of the asset that you're handling or driving, that really changes how you interact with your vehicle that you're driving. Mario Kart is fun, but that's all it is at the end of the day. You don't get to walk away with anything after you complete the race other than being, top of the leaderboard, having bragging rights that you are fastest at Rainbow Road, for example, and so on. When you dive into the world of Web3 gaming, you introduce all of the utilities that gaming NFTs provide you, as well as being able to, have that ownership of the asset that you actually are using at the end of the day, is what brings the inner child out in you when you start to customize it, when you start to race it, when you can interact with it. So what we love about Kadcars, and it was our vision from day one, is we wanted to really improve and lead the way forward to how people interact with their NFTs. You didn't want an NFT to be something that was non-editable, and that's what NFTs, that's what the backbone NFT is, security. But we saw that security in a different form. We saw that today I can be the designer or the creator of an NFT, and so could you, and so could Robert, and so could Muhammad, if the right assets are in place when it comes to the smart contracts, and that's what Catcars wants to do. We want to make sure that your personalization is then taken from your head onto the NFT, translated into the game, and so on. And then it's all about interaction at the end of the day. The physics of cat cars, the mechanics of cat cars, it's at the moment a work in progress because we're listening to the community, seeing what they want, but we're aiming to be a mixture of an arcade racer as well as a real world racer. So what that means is no one wants to really go into their garage and change their tires or have to suffer from, the car being damaged and have the performance drop. So that's the arcade side of things. But at the same time, no one wants to go around the track where they never have to press the brakes because then it's not that challenging anymore. So we changed it. We took the challenging aspects of real world driving, programmed it into our mechanics in a way where we provided challenge while still getting your blood pumping and getting you excited and keeping the game super fast paced.
If I could add to that as well, another thing that we're striving for and we believe that Web3 gaming should be about is interoperability. So at the moment, we don't have any examples, but we're in talks with one project specifically where we could actually, you could use the same NFT that you're using in Catcars on a different game as long as like the 3D file is supported. Like we're able to give all like the physics software and everything to another developer, and then now your NFT can be used in two games, like maybe another racing game, maybe a PUBG type of survival game.
Because the brain of what is cat cars exists within the smart contracts. And that was something that we made sure to do when we launched.
Right. So it's this balance between creating a game that is like arcade friendly, but also creating a game and building in the mechanics into the game so that you have that touch of ownership, you have that touch of personalization, but at the same time having the capability to for the parts of the game to be tokenized, so that essentially there's the portability aspect and also the potential for interoperability between other projects. So that's, something that I love so much about Web3 gaming is that, in a perfect world in the future or with some projects now, and you have the ability to uh, be able to move these parts in between games, and then you also have the ability to take something that you've worked so hard on, leveling up your game, leveling up the components of your game, the car or the parts, what have you, and then actually being able to sell that on an open marketplace. That is so transformative of the gaming that I've known, because I would play, Call of Duty or Madden, and I would spend so much time leveling up players, and then I would go on to a different game eventually. But there would be no way for me to get the assets that were in that game out of the game, and they weren't assets; they were just components of the game. But the way that Web3 gaming fundamentally changes uh, how we game, how we play video games, is just so transformative for the gamer, and that they don't have to have these components locked in, while at the same time they're able to maintain this level of customization and ownership that was unlike anything that we've experienced before.
Exactly. The way I think about it is your time is your currency, you know? And being able to take that currency and invest it in gaming, that's like a dream come true.
Yeah, it puts a whole new meaning on time as money, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, and then I would like to actually you said you brought it yourself up, Drew, about the you sink a lot of hours into a video game and then when you transfer over to another game, none of that stuff comes over, and sometimes it comes back to bite you like financially. So when it came to Call of Duty Warzone, Warzone 1, a lot of people dumped a lot of money into it with the battle pass and so on, hundreds of dollars. And then when Warzone 2 came out, pretty much all that got thrown out the window. So all the things that you unlocked, all your unlocks gone. They started clean, and that means all the money and the time that you sank into the game to unlock all these things was meaningless. Whereas if they were, of course, NFTs and they were interoperable, you would still have ownership of those assets, and they wouldn't just disappear.
Exactly, exactly. And with the way that smart contracts work, especially on Pact, these contracts are upgradable. And so, in a perfect world, essentially, you could have uh, assets that are usable as the contract upgrades, right?
Definitely. And it's a much more dynamic world. It's limited to you and the project that you're on at the end of the day. You having ownership isn't just being able to transfer or to sell. You having ownership is you being able to potentially advertise. Today, if I'm a good racer and I have attention around my NFT, why not advertise Mountain Dew and make some money off of it? And then you can take it a step further, all right, maybe I have a cool car, it's fast, whatnot. Maybe rent it out for someone who's capable of getting, these kind of NFTs. So with a smart contract, I can lend it to him for 10 races, make money off of it just because I let him play my customized vehicle, and just endless from there.
Exactly, exactly. Just to briefly pivot away from Web3 gaming, if you take NFT projects like Pudgy Penguins or even like Bored Ape, you see the IP rights going out to different places like brewing companies. Uh, I saw the toys from Pudgy Penguins at Walmart. That's massive, and just how that changes how we could express ourselves as individuals, but then also how that branding carries over to everyday life. Whereas like if you're not interested in blockchain or Web3 at all, and you're going through Walmart and you see, oh, Pudgy Penguin, it's like, oh, what's that? And it's actually someone that owns it on the backside of it that just makes this industry much more real.
Yeah,
Definitely.
like what Luca is doing overall is like pretty insane. Like he's putting like the right steps forward for the NFT as a whole.
Exactly. It's really mind blowing how it just changes the way that we can brand ourselves and show our online identity and sort of merge them with the real world. And then the other thing that you mentioned, I think it was MK about, or maybe it was Robert. Sorry, it was about lending and being able to lend within the game. Like, could you unpack that a little bit?
So basically, at the end of the day, a smart contract is a rule book. It governs things to the dot. So today, it could be made possible that I'm able to lend my cat car by basically telling the smart contract that this specific user is able to utilize this NFT for, let's say, 10 races, and then that NFT is, you know, no longer like playable in his wallet, or it goes back to my wallet. And Mohammed is the smart contract expert here. But the main idea of all of this is because it's your ownership. If you're on the right project, then that project can develop that utility for you. And that's something in Kadcars that we've been talking about from day one. Because our NFT is a key to play our game. Some users, for example, they said, okay, why not provide the game for free, which is an option. But another option is why not make it a lower barrier of entry where you don't have to mint, but also let the holders of the NFT benefit. So instead of minting for 25 Kadena, a cat car, you would spend significantly less to be able to try someone else's cat car for a specific time, and that's an additional utility. Mohamed, if you want to jump in here, you're the brains behind this.
I mean, it's basically like how different projects they allow you to they try to incentivize you to hold on to your NFTs, and so like they allow you to stake your NFTs, for example, for a particular period of time, and then the longer you stake it, the more rewards you get of some sort. So, for example, SGK, which is another project that is on Kadena right now, probably one of the more popular GameFi projects out there right now on this blockchain. If you own some of their NFTs and you hold them for a little while, then you get free weapons or NFTs that you can claim. And then upon claiming them, you can do whatever you want with these rewards, whether you want to trade them or combine them and so on. So similar, we can take the similar idea of staking and incentivize people to hold on to their NFTs, and do so by giving you still own the NFT, but you're renting it out, so to speak. And that gives you more of a reason because you can get paid out for letting someone else play with your NFT, with your car, but you still own it at the end of the day.
Right. And then at the same time, this is true for the philosophy of Web3, or at least what I see one of the core philosophies of Web3 is that it's an open financial infrastructure that is accessible to all people. So while at the same time you could be benefiting from it because you're getting these perks for essentially staking or what have you, you're also enabling people all over the world who might not live in the same type of economy or have the same economic status to actually own these NFTs and to be able to make that more accessible to those people as well.
Correct.
Yeah, I just want to clarify that, like at the current stage, this is like mostly hypothetical. We're not entirely working on it. We know it's like possible. However, like our main focus right now, is like the 80-20 principle. Like making sure that we have multiplayer, making sure that we have upgradability of those NFTs, also customization, upgradability, speed, top speed handling, and such so on. However, this is like in the realm of possibilities, and once we accomplish these things, like we're gonna branch out and like look at like what else is possible, but most importantly, what else is needed and wanted by the community, because we've seen like a lot of the times with like founders, engineers, and such that they fell in love with their product and there are like endless possibilities of it, and they overdevelop, spend time, money, energy on it, deliver to their product to their market, and nobody buys it, nobody uses it, just because they overshot and like they built what they think is cool rather than what the community actually wants. So yeah, like all of this is like in realm of possibilities, but however, like the way we're building is by asking what do people want at the moment, and at the moment people seem to want multiplayer.
Yeah, for sure. That's one of the most beautiful parts about Web3 communities is that the the infrastructure of projects, the infrastructure of dApps protocols, they evolve because some of the best founders and the people building these projects actually have an ear to the ground, and they're able to transform their roadmap based off of what people want to see. And that's so totally different than what you saw in Web 2, what you saw in Web 1
Yeah.
for that matter, or tech leading up to really the last like 5 or 10 years since Web 3 has become, fully imagined. So, the fact that you guys are willing to incorporate what the community wants goes to show that you're flexible enough to like really take into consideration what the gamers are asking for in their game. So I give you a lot of credit for just having the foresight into being flexible to that.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's just like listening what your customer wants. Like our customer is the community, and I think that's in Web3 specifically. Like that's the only way to build. Like if you look at most of the NFT projects or just Web3 projects in general, they started with one roadmap and they only achieved like 15-20% of it. Then they had to pivot. They didn't even update it on their website a lot of the times, just because like new metas come in, like new technology comes in, like especially with right now with MFTs, like the ARC 404 standard, like whereas like the NFT is NFT and also token at the same time. Maybe that can be utilized, but you cannot really foresee that in the roadmap. So it's like it's ever changing. You're getting constant feedback, and really roadmaps in Web3, they're just there to be like if an investor asks about like a VC asks about a roadmap, but most of the times it seems that you have to be extremely fluid and like have either very broad one or have none at all, to be honest.
Right. Yeah. One week in Web 3 is like a year in some other industries, that you have to have your ear closer to the ground to see these standards that come up, like the 404 ERC that you had mentioned, or even like NFT lending with some of the stuff that like NFTFi is doing, or some of these other platforms that like all these things happen so quickly and so overnight that like you can't possibly have a roadmap plan for the next 5 years and think that you're going to stick to it exactly how it is, because the industry is so fluid and dynamic.
Another example would be like Apple. I mean, like VR and AR is not nothing new, but like Apple kind of took it to the next level, and now we're thinking, okay, like with what Apple has achieved, the augmented reality seems significantly closer than it was, like before it was announced and shown. And now we're like thinking, okay, like maybe we can think of like for 2 to 3 years ahead, and like maybe integrate AR VR into Web3 gaming as well. Like take the gaming to the next level where you're just having your headset on and just like driving with your arm. Yeah, it's like it's limitless, and endless, and it's just like I mean, I could talk about this for hours, and like it wouldn't even get close to an end.
Yeah, same. And then by the time you finalize the tech to meet up with that, it's like, oh, something new came out and it's time to build something else out. That's just
Yeah, Mo hates us for that, you know. Like you can see him just chilling here, and but to be honest, we are like, oh Mo, like this is like something new, like we should implement this, and like, but I just done this.
We're the dreamers and he's the implementer. That's how I think about it.
Yeah,
They just toss me around wherever wherever it fits.
equal parts execution and ideas.
Yep.
We talked a lot about Web3 gaming and the philosophies behind it and some of the things that you guys have planned for Kadcars. But let's get more into more Kadena and why Kadena, because I'd be really interested to know why you chose the Kadena blockchain, for example, over any other blockchains or protocols that exist in the space right now.
Okay. Yeah. So I can take this one. Kadena. There's a lot of reasons why we chose Kadena, and I'll get into just a couple of them. And we actually also believe that Kadena is probably one of the top four Web3 gaming for the following reasons. The first one being low transaction costs. I mean, that one is pretty self-explanatory, but if you just think about it from the perspective of a gamer and all the actions they go through in one gaming session. Let's say a gaming session is an hour. When you go in, you're going to probably play a handful of games. Each game would incur some number of transactions if it were Web3 uh, equivalent. Whether it be you joining a game or unlocking something or buying something on the store and so on. So now imagine each and every one of those transactions had astronomical fees, like on Ethereum, for example. Then it'll be infeasible to just play a video game, right? But with Kadena, of course, the low transaction costs actually allows this to be feasible. So the fees are pretty much negligible, and you can just focus on playing the game and enjoy it. And you're like, okay, yeah, I get to pay this fraction of a Kadena, so what? It's not a big deal. And this segues me into the next point. While we're still on the topic of low costs, we're talking about another thing that we really love is gas stations. Gas stations, super powerful concept that we were first introduced to here on Kadena, where essentially a third party can pay the gas for you, for the person who's initiating the transaction. And we actually use this ourselves. And the it's just additional quality of life. So if we take Kadcars again if we take that as an example, and I'm about to join a race online, well, they would only have to pay the transaction cost for joining, but we as the Kadena of the Kadcars team would pay the gas for them. So again, once again, they don't have to worry about that. It's more marketing for us, just more quality of life. And since it's falls under low fees, in the grand scheme of things, we as the Kadcars team won't feel it. So we can provide this luxury for our customers without us even feeling it. And then last but not least is Pact. So Pact, the programming language native to Kadena, built by the Kadena team. It's fast, it's reliable, and secure. A couple of examples of why of reasons we like it. We like Pact is, first of all, you mentioned it earlier, Drew. You said upgradable. The contracts are upgradable. It lets you lock in specific versions of the contract, iterate quickly. So it plays into perfectly into our agile, like super quick development process. Another thing is guards. Guards are extremely valuable for us because it lets you add different layers of security to your contracts, and gatekeep certain portions and functionalities of your contract so that only certain users or other certain contracts can access it and no one else. This gives us kind of peace of mind when we're developing, so we can focus on building and not have to worry about like common uh, attack vectors like cross-function reentrancy, which is usually the common one. Um, and we use it ourselves, as I said, we use it to validate users, validate other contracts that are calling it, and so on. And then the last but not least, when it comes to Pact, is Def Pacts. We love Def Pacts, very unique. It lets us essentially orchestrate a bunch functionality over the course of multiple transactions. If we take Kadcars again as an example, let's take a complex feature that Kadcars would eventually have. It's tournaments. So tournaments, there's multiple phases to it. There's the buy-in phase, then there's of course the duration of the actual competition, and then there's the payout phase. All these phases can be orchestrated into a Def Pact as individual steps. So step one would be buy in to all the users buy in and the money gets transferred to an escrow account. Then the players will go ahead and play throughout the entire. The money will be held in that escrow account as the players played throughout the entire tournament. And then once the tournament's over, the Dev Pact will execute its final step, which is pay out the appropriate parties their rewards. And with Dev Pact, you can also roll back steps, so that's pretty cool. So let's say, for example, somebody joined into a tournament, and then right before the tournament started, they got cold feet and decided, okay, I don't want to do this. So then they can actually leave, and the Dev Pact will roll back that particular step, and they can get their money and walk away. So they're not immediately locked in once their money goes out. And yeah, these are just some of the things. I'll go ahead and pass it back to you.
Yeah, if I could add, so like this was like purely from the technical perspective, but I think it's also important to explain like from the business, from the user experience perspective. So our philosophy is that, for Web3 gaming to become like a competitor to Web2 gaming, we really need to lose that, like, oh, it's on a blockchain. We just want to be a game that is fun to play, rather than to be like a game that is on blockchain and you should try to play it. And by having gas stations and dev banks and trying to eliminate as much as Web3 technology as possible in the front facing user interface, we're gonna be able to onboard Web2 masses as well. Because right now, like, people most of the times are playing games to escape reality, right? And they want to do it as quickly as possible. That's why I think mobile games are doing so well. Like you have free 15 minutes, you just take out your phone, you boom, you're out of this world. Like you forget about whatever you had, mm, you know, about that day. And with Web3 gaming, you have your wallets, you have your transactions and such, and it's really a hassle. Like most people don't really want to go through all of that. And with gas stations and dev packs, we can kind of start chopping off a lot of those extra steps that we're trying to eliminate.
Yeah, it is oftentimes intimidating for somebody who is not Web3 savvy to jump into something like this because they're worried about money or losing their wallet keys or uh, what it might entail. And like Robert said, if we make the experience just feel like a Web2 game, and then under the hood, all that cool Web3 stuff that I mentioned that Kadena offers is happening under the hood, then we've achieved what we wanted to achieve. And Kadena facilitates that goal for us.
Yeah, I think that we can all probably agree that like UI UX in Web3 in general could use some improvements for the everyday person to be able to feel comfortable enough to participate in a way that like we dream that they could participate. But so many good points that you brought up there, Mo and Robert. Uh, but one thing that I wanted to touch on specifically was gas stations. In that, I think that it's incredible that Kadcars is offering to potentially cover the transaction for the gamers that play their game. But how that translates to other games that could pop up on Kadena, I would imagine that this could have a lot of potential with, like, say, a guild, and a guild would want to sponsor transactions for their players in order to further incentivize people to join the guild.
Exactly. Like it's essentially, as I said earlier, it could be very good for promotional material and events. We can just say, hey guys, there's big tournament coming up. Don't worry about gas fees. We got you covered. Just jump in and play, have fun, and that's it. Don't worry about it. So yeah, I love that you brought that up.
Yeah, and coming back to guilds, like sometimes people are just not able, like Web3 as a barrier is like the gas fees alone, whether it can be, like even AVAX, a lot of like layer twos of Ethereum, they seem really cheap at first, but like it starts adding time as the token price goes up and such. So for some reason, especially like like third world countries, like $1 that we take for granted, like $1, $2, $3 transactions is actually like the whole day's spending limit or the whole day's pay even. And being able to eliminate this issue, whether it's like through gas stations of guilds or the gas stations through the uh, gaming company itself, is gonna open doors to a lot of like a lot of more people. And like games, especially multiplayer ones, benefit of network effect. And the more people are playing it, the faster you're finding a tournament to play in, the faster you find your crew to play with and such. And yeah, the more the merrier.
Absolutely, and it's true to the ethos of Web3 that it's an open financial system. right? It shouldn't be this closed off walled garden that only a couple people here and there could access.
Yeah. Well, X Infinity was a bit complicated. Like the first try, the first pancake was a bit like burnt. Like only richer people could enter the game, but like it kind of paved the first steps for others.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I actually met Jiho at NFT NYC back in like 2020 at like a happy hour, right when that game was starting to emerge, and they definitely paved the way for other games to come out. Like it was especially novel at that point in time to have these assets on the blockchain. But that being said, I paid a couple $100s for my Axes in order to be able to enter into the game. And so, there's a lot of work that could be done in making it more accessible to uh, the everyday person, no matter where they are. Cool. Well, I think that like this is going to be incredible. This is a big moment for Kadena and for our community with this idea of New Kadena and the total rebrand that we did and making blockchain and Web3 more accessible to people. This is really right on brand. This is right on cue with what we're doing from an organizational perspective. And I'm really excited to see the updates that come up and for the game to go live. I'm looking forward to playing it here. Uh, but before we go, is there anything else that you guys would like our community to know, to look out for?
So basically, at Kadcars at the moment, what we've done so far is we've basically created a 3D model, which is your cat car, took that 3D model onto chain, now it's your NFT, took it into the game, now it's your controller, so basically the car that you're actually driving, and then we allowed you to see your NFT in a garage environment, in like a full 3D environment, all angles, you're not just limited to the 2D render of the NFT. Then we basically allowed you to start experimenting with how potentially you can start upgrading your NFT in terms of in-game decals and wraps that you can put onto the car so you can start to personalize it. Now, what we're looking forward to is launching multiplayer, and we've taken multiple steps to get to being able to launch multiplayer. One of the most notable ones was we launched the game in what we call alpha, beta, whatever. We launched the game in what we call an alpha stage. We allowed champions to play the game, got their feedback, went to Cypherpunk, let guys play the game on ground, got their feedback, understood what was frustrating about the game, not what's challenging, but what's frustrating about the game, and eliminated it. And that's where we currently are today with version 1.3. We took out the old physics, which basically created all the mechanics of what is a racing game, threw it out the window, redesigned it from scratch to basically make it more fun, impactful, give you more control. We looked at the camera, it was slow. People didn't like that the game felt a bit slow. Threw it out the window, put in a new camera that follows the car much better for racing enthusiasts. It allows you to hit the apex a lot better because it's no longer at the high arcing angle, it's more lower. So we looked at all the, teeny weeny details, and we got to a point where now when we launch multiplayer, it's going to be seamless, it's going to be fun, you're going to feel like you're in full control with other cars with you on the track. And then once multiplayer is out of the way and we have multiplayer launched and it's working and people are able to compete against each other, that's where we, really get kicked off with Kadcars, and that's where we start accelerating forward. And if you are in the Kadcars community or in the Kadena community, I urge you to head over to our Discord. That's where we have all of our creative thinking. At Discord, this is basically an area where you can reach out to myself, you can reach out to Robert, Mohanad. You have the opportunity to pretty much give us your thoughts for us to develop the game in a way that you like to see it. And once we have enough thoughts in one direction, that's where we start to think, you know what, there's something there, let's do it. And a lot of times it could be one thought, but it makes a lot of sense. So for example, we had our game showing kilometers an hour because I'm metric. The guys over in America are not, So it was really as simple as, a code just to plug it into the game, and then next thing you know, you have miles, you have kilometers. So head over to our Discord. You can easily talk to us there. You can get your ideas across, and those ideas get implemented if they are good ideas. And that allows you to develop the game with us every step of the way.
No, I would like to shout out one thing I didn't mention when you asked me the question earlier, Drew, is I do want to shout out the Kadena team for Marmalade V2 because I want to just like stress on how easy Kadena makes it for projects who want to launch their NFT collections, even if they're just bare bones basic like PFP collections. Um, Marmalade lets you do this very easily. Marmalade V2 pretty much comes ready out the box, and you really just have to like wire in your mint methods, very basic stuff, and lets you hit the ground running very quickly. With all the pluggable policies that you guys offer, it lets you pretty much architect your system however you like it, because all these modular parts of your contracts, instead of having one massive contract, you can have one broken up into pieces that you can reuse for other collections. So Kadena really stepped up with Marmalade V2, allowing you to like release collections on the fly, pretty much. Very cool stuff. I just wanted to throw that out there before we closed off.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks.
and one more thing as well from my everybody's adding something I need to add as well. Uh, so the 3D aspect is like we keep highlighting it, and like the reason that it's important is like because what Mo said, you can actually have your NFT in the game. You can look below it, on the side, from the top, whatever way you like. And most projects don't really do that. If it's like a 3D looking NFT, it's probably 2D drawn as 3D. And the reason most actually avoid this, and it makes a lot of sense, is because it's like pain in the ass. It took us over 2 weeks to upload 5,337 NFTs into the blockchain, and it took we used like 2 or 3 computers for that.
I used like 3 computers to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, 3 computers and over 2 weeks to upload the NFTs. Like the files are massive, right? And it just takes a lot of time to upload. But because of that, now we're like taking the fruits of our labor. We're able to upload that NFT. We don't need to create a new 3D model for the game that looks like into the 2D NFT. We just take the exact NFT, pop it in the game. Boom, you customize it. Like you can look around it. If you upgrade your NFT in the game, it's also reflected in the NFT itself. So yeah, I'm the most excited about this part. I haven't seen a lot of projects doing that, and as I said, the reason nobody's doing it is because it's so damn difficult and so damn annoying. But we're working on processes on making better.
The second
What?
part as well that the art enthusiasts would enjoy about this is you can't use
Yeah.
Photoshop. Everything that you create in the 3D render, whether it's the material, the texture, the shine, the lighting, everything is, it needs to
Oh
be
yeah, yeah,
created in a 3D environment. You cannot take it to Photoshop afterwards and touch it up and whatnot. So,
yeah.
it's something that when we do give you an NFT, you're getting a full 3D rendered NFT in a 3D environment.
Yeah, like so for instance, like what does that mean if it's like one, let's say if it's shiny, like paint, if you're using one lighting or another or a different color lighting is going to be reflected on the car itself. Like went into like OCD type of details. Like we had all the bear market to build, right? We decided not to launch like when the Kadena boom was happening, or like let's do it the right way, and just we're like going off and about for 2 years basically. Yeah.
Yeah, guys, thank you so much for being on this episode. We really look forward to seeing all the exciting things that Kadcars puts out, and I'll definitely be cheering from you here at the Kadena HQ. And I'm really looking forward to seeing all the updates that come out.
Lovely.
Awesome.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate
Appreciate
your time.
Awesome.
Mallory.
Thank you.